Ladies and gentle gamers, welcome back to Be Determined. In today's video, I asked a bunch of my subscribers what their ideas for some updates to Hypixel would be, and some of them were good, so we're going to be going over those today. And if you guys like it, make sure to drop a like on the video, and if you want to have your update idea in the next one, if we decide to make more, make sure to drop a comment in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, smash the sub button if you haven't already. We're on our way to 30,000 subscribers. And without further ado, let's jump into it. So I'm going to split this into 3 sections for this video. We're going to have the QOL updates, the actual regular updates, and then the foraging related stuff. So the first QOL idea is from Andy Timbo. He says, "This feels very niche, but I'd love a sack locking feature where you can prevent your sack from picking up certain items and have them just go straight to your inventory." Honestly, I think this would be pretty cool. There's not really a ton of places where it's applicable, but I'd say a few of them would be like when you're doing dungeons, sometimes you get wither catalysts, and half the time I don't realize I have them because they go straight into my sack. So I'd like to be able to know when I have them and they just go in my inventory and I'll be able to sell them from there. Or if you get something from doing corpse grinding, if you get like a tungsten key or an umber key, half the time you won't realize you got it if you don't read every single message, because it does go straight into your sack. So it'd be a lot nicer if you could make that so it doesn't go into your sacks. And it's not like it would take the admins a ton of time, like away from grinding out the foraging, coding, and all that other stuff that they have to do. It's just a small little QOL thing that would be pretty nice. The next one is from Steph. He says, "As an Iron Man player, I would love to see a change related to enchanted books. Make them sellable again to NPC even for a coin. There's no reason why they got this removed. It tilts me every time I fish, collect Jacob's contests, dungeon runs, or what else." Yeah, honestly, I don't even play Iron Man, but this would be really, really nice. When I claim Jacob's contests, when I do dungeon runs, that type of thing, and yeah, fishing. Like, I don't think that's just an Iron Man thing. It's kind of an everybody thing. And a lot of times you can't really sell them to Bazaar because either there are no buy orders, or you're just having to wait the 5 seconds while they're telling you that the price is way down when the item's just worthless anyways. So that would be really nice, be able to sell things to NPC for 1 coin instead of having to just throw them in the void or whatever. Next up is Ribeiro. He said, "Add NPC sell price to some rare drops. I don't want to get a 0.1% drop just for it to be worth 10 coins. Also, pets rebalance. There's like 15 useful pets in the whole game." I do think there's some drops, like especially from pests, that are like worth very few coins to NPC, and it would be nice if they added some things to like make it 100,000 coins or things like that, you know, like the wriggling larva and things like that that are not really that expensive, which actually I think that one has a sell price. I'm thinking more the reforged stones. There's a lot of reforged stones that only sell for 1 coin that are kind of rare, so it'd be kind of nice if those got some buffs. But the pets rebalance, I do think is a really nice thing. I do think most pets do have a place in the game, but there are a decent amount of pets that are just completely useless. Like, I feel like Jerry's just a meme one, so he doesn't really need a rework. But like the rat pet, I think there's a few people that use it as a meme more than anything. But it would be kind of cool if it had a little passive ability that gives extra magic find. Like maybe it takes some time to charge and every day you can use it for an hour and it's just passively dropping cheese on the ground and you can pick that up to give people in your lobby extra magic find. I think that would be kind of cool, especially for all the Slayer grinders out there. That would definitely help make them a lot more money. But also like spider pet, I don't think I've seen anyone use a spider pet ever, to be honest. Like, at least Tarantula gives you extra combat XP against Slayers. And there's the Ankylosaurus, which I thought was going to be really good when it first came out because of the Lifeline perk, but apparently it's not. So nobody uses that one either. Like, the bee pet's an early game pet, so it doesn't really need a rework, but you kind of get the gist. There's quite a few pets in here, the chicken pet as well, that just doesn't really do anything. So I don't think everything needs to be super overpowered, but I feel like it should at least have some kind of use. Even if you just made all these ones that give extra perks for your island minions, if you made it just so that there's like something you can put them in on your island that automatically makes your minions work faster even when you're not on it, like that would be pretty cool. And it would make a lot of the pets in here at least somewhat useful. Even if their minions aren't meta, the people that are going for collections and the Iron Man players who are using them, they'd actually be useful for somebody at least, rather than just not getting used at all. Next up, we have Plode. He's got a lot of ideas here. We're just going to pick a few of them to talk about. The first would be adding a seal pet to the Lucas shop, which I think would be great. It would work as a kind of treasure chance fish and a trophy chance fish, which would be pretty cool to have something that gives trophy fishing chance other than the Kudra pet, because I think right now Kudra pet's the only pet that gives some trophy fishing chance. So I think that idea is pretty cool. Also, separating Iron Man and normal profiles and Shin and Dark Auction. This isn't the first time this idea has been talked about, but I do think that's going to be part of the Iron Man QOLs, or if it's not, then it should be. Because I think Iron Man players do already have to pay enough coins. They shouldn't have to worry about what other profiles are having to pay and all that stuff. So having a set price for Iron Man or just separating their Dark Auctions to be only for Iron Man players, I feel like isn't the craziest idea in the world. Next up is Zia Lu. Said, I'd love a new mining mithril powder revamp. It's so horrible now to get max mithril. It's like a whole day of non-stop grinding. So they should either make mithril ore give more powder, commissions give more powder, or bring back the old method. Or they could make it so that nucleus runs give 50 to 100,000 mithril powder, so a setup lobby can be fast and nucleus runs would get a new use. Honestly, I do think a new powder adjustment would be a good idea for mithril. I think the big problem with that right now is that it's literally just straight up mining mithril and that's it. It doesn't make a ton of money, especially at the stage that you usually do it at, which is early game. So I think they should probably buff the amount that you get from the event. Or they could add on to commission milestones to give you a good chunk of powder whenever you get to a certain amount. So maybe after you get to, you know, like 100, you get 500,000 mithril powder. Once you get to 1,000 commission milestones, you get an extra million, something like that, to make the mithril powder grind a little bit easier, because it is kind of a chore how much of it that you need and how long it takes to get that. So I do think it'd be nice to give it a little bit of a buff, but in all honesty, 24 hours to grind is not the craziest grind in the game. And if you wait and do some of it after you hit your max Heart of the Mountain level, then it doesn't take as long on that either. I've heard of people getting up to like 700, 800,000 per hour once you have maxed out Heart of the Mountain levels, because then your commissions give a lot more powder. So if you only get like 5 mil before you get to max, and then once you've maxed Heart of the Mountain, you can grind out the rest, the other 7 mil, it'll go by a lot faster. But again, the thing about mithril powder is you only have to do it once, and once you're done with it, you're done. You never have to do it again. So a 20-hour grind is a pretty long grind, so a nerf wouldn't be the biggest deal in the world, but also not getting one isn't the biggest deal in the world either. Next up is Alpha. He said, one thing I would like is either Paul making it so you get more XP in dungeons, or more essence, and making the boss have weaker stats, or to add a special perk for every mayor when they win with a landslide, such a lot more votes than usual. That would be kind of cool. A landslide vote special perk would be pretty awesome. But yeah, it's been a while since mayor revamp. It's been a hot minute, and they said they were going to revamp Aatrox and Paul at some point. It's been a long time. I would still like that revamp, and I think this wouldn't be the worst idea. Getting more XP from dungeons would be really nice, but getting more essence, I think I would rather have his 10 extra score perk, or if they decided to buff that to like 20 extra score, that would be really nice, so you get really, really fast runs. But making the boss's stats weaker would also be nice, but again, keeping the 20% cheaper chests is also really good. So I think if we had to choose between 4 perks in the game, I'd like the extra XP, the extra score, and the cheaper chests. I think those are the 3 best perks. So for a 4th perk, the bosses having weaker stats would not be bad at all. That would be really nice for sure. Next up, Sidron suggested T5 Slayers, the remaining T12 minions, more mythic pet upgrades, and the ability for bizarre purchases to go into sacks. That would be really nice. The bizarre purchases into sacks would be a great QOL. T5 Slayers, of course, really looking forward to them adding some Slayer content this year. T12 minions, I don't think there's a ton of them left at this point, to be honest. I actually have a backpack full of most of them. So we don't have the foraging minions. I'm sure that'll come out with the foraging update. We don't have a couple of the mining minions at T12, and we don't have like a T12 Enderman minion. So I think there's a couple other combat minions out here. Like we don't have a T12 creeper minion or spider or cave spider. But yeah, more T12 minions would definitely be nice. I'm not sure how they would add that in, but they could probably just kind of leech off of the ways that are already here. And next up, Ian suggested that they add a minion update of some kind. I think minions have gone a very long time without a revamp. The closest things, like they've really added on to the minion system, which it's not a bad system, but I would really like to see something that's a little bit more, I guess, consistent, because realistically the problem that we have right now is every time they decide to update something, the minion meta changes. And a lot of players will invest hundreds of millions, if not billions of coins into a minion setup just for it to stop being the meta the next week. Which you can call it a dumb investment, but realistically, minions shouldn't be such a risk, I feel like. Like, Inferno minions being a risk is kind of their own thing. But it'd be kind of nicer to have less risk and more rewards from minions. I feel like minions should just be kind of a steady growth of passive money, and you don't have to worry about the prices changing on Bazaar and things like that. I feel like that is a really big flaw that minions have. And some people like that about minions. I think that's fine. But I do think it would be kind of nice to have just like a set amount of coins that each minion makes. And then maybe there's like different seasons. And depending on what season it is what minion is best. So say when Cole's elected, you know, he already has his extra mining minions perk. Imagine you could just click a button and it would change what minions you have down, instead of having to go through your entire 31 minion slots and change every single minion just for a week and then change it back again the next week based on whatever mayor or whatever season it is. I think it'd just be nice to not have so much panic selling of minions. That's kind of like what I'm trying to get at, is like have every minion have a place so that at some point in time it's going to be worth having, and then make some QOLs to where you can just change your whole setup with the click of a button, like a minion wardrobe or something, instead of having to go through and change every single minion. Like, I think if they add the minion wardrobe idea first, and then we can maybe add in different seasons where different minions make more money, I think that would be pretty cool and a lot more consistent and less panic selling of minions going on. Because again, I have that whole backpack full of minions that I never use, even though that backpack is worth like hundreds of millions of coins worth of minions. So it'd just be nice to at least make some money off of those major investments rather than just have that SkyBlock XP just sitting there. Next up is Custard Pie. He says the two things I'd want to see is a farming rework to make it more like the Rift farming style, as that far more interactive and there would be good rewards for actually putting the attention in. The other thing is an update to fishing. I love fishing, but there needs to be some sort of interesting gameplay step between fishing 22 to 27. An update with a skill tree or some way to tune what sea creatures you can get, so at fishing 26 you can stop fishing up sea walkers. I think that's a great idea, and we do have the fishing island or foraging island depending on which conspiracy theory you're on, but hopefully either way that will fill in the gap between fishing 22 and 27. Honestly, I feel like it's a pretty big gap between 20 and 27, and it'd be nice to have a little bit more XP to get from that. And yeah, I do think that there should be a way to stop yourself from getting sea creatures once you max out their bestiary. I think that should be the milestone, so that if you max out a bestiary, then you can guaranteed stop catching that sea creature. But, you know, they'd have to put some kind of gate on that, because otherwise you would just stop catching every sea creature except Jawbus and then only catch Jawbuses. So I think it would be kind of nice to just, instead of catching a sea creature when you throw your rod in, if it was going to be that sea creature, then it just like instantly catches and gives you a bunch of coins or something. You know, just like 5,000 coins is like, you would have caught a sea walker, but you've maxed it. Or just something like that, because it does get annoying. As somebody who had to grind out the pyroclastic worm bestiary before that was adjusted, that really sucked. I had maxed out every other bestiary and I still had like 2,000 pyroclastic worms that I had to catch. It took me like a whole week to get through that, and it was very annoying. So maybe they just put a limit to where you can stop yourself from catching like 5 different sea creatures max, because there are some sea creatures that are just annoying to catch, you know, like hydras. If you don't want to catch hydras, they can be annoying, or magma slugs, lava leeches, things like that. If you just have like a talisman that gives you a cap of like 5 sea creatures that you can't catch, that would be really nice. But we didn't even talk about the farming thing yet. So the farming idea I do think is pretty interesting. I don't know about necessarily making it rift farming style. I think it'd be cool to have like some little daily thing that you could do that's kind of rift farming style. Like right now you have your daily pest, because you can get, you know, after 8 hours you have a full plot of 8 pests on your garden. But I think it would be kind of cool to have some kind of daily table, you know, like we have the experimentation table right now. They did something like that where it's kind of like the rift farming, and you just have a little mini game where you farm for like 5 minutes and you get a ton of XP for it. I think that could be pretty cool. Or I had another idea to where they could make it kind of like they have mine shafts right now. I feel like glaciite tunnels was a really big success. Like, a lot of people like the way that it's done. You do a little bit of regular mining, and then you get into a mine shaft and you make a bunch of money in that mine shaft. I think it'd be kind of cool if you do a bunch of regular farming, and then occasionally you'll get a portal opened, kind of like the way mine shafts open, that takes you to a rift farming area or something like that, where you can make a bunch of money in a couple of minutes, and then you go back to regular farming. Because I think that would also help with hindering macroers. Like, I feel like the admins have been trying to stop macroers from making so much money for a long time, and trying to ban macroers and do all of that stuff. So I think that would be a good way to kind of stop macroers from being able to make so much money, by making most of the money come from something that's not really macroable, and also make it so that you can do farming still passively if you wanted to. It'll just make a lot less money and be a lot less efficient, and it would also make it more interesting for people that do want to actually do farming and pay attention. And Bluaza suggested for a big update they could add a new skill or rework runecrafting. The new skill would be exploration. The skill would have 50 levels and would be sort of like a solo dungeon, but less small mobs and more mini bosses and bosses. So the cavern, you will find, or inside of the cavern, you will find storage, shelving, or other furniture with loot inside with chance to find loot, a lot like corpses. The further you get into the cave, the better the loot is. This would also come with Rusty as mayor, which has 3 perks. 25% better loot from storage containers. Empty cave sections are now removed, and expeditions cost 25% less to start. I think that'd be a cool thing to do as like one of the other dungeon floors, is to kind of make it more of a roguelike type of dungeon. Like right now, dungeon runs are, like most MMOs, a grind, but it's like one clear and then one boss, and then you're done with the run, you get a bunch of loot. I think it'd be kind of cool to be able to do like a little bit of clear and then a boss, and then some more clear and then another boss, and then maybe back-to-back bosses. It's not exactly roguelike, but I mean, when it first comes out, you would be kind of low level and not able to get to the final bosses. So kind of having like an endless style run where it's very difficult to get to the higher tiers of loot, but the further you get, the more loot you're gonna get at the end of the run. I think that could be kind of cool, but I don't know if it needs like a whole new mayor. I think just sticking with Paul and just making it the next like dungeon, that'd be a cool idea for a dungeon for sure. And yeah, I mean, if they make it like cave style, where maybe instead of clearing mobs, you have to go into a ravine and find a certain amount of diamonds, and then once you found those diamonds, a portal opens up that takes you to the next boss fight. That'd be kind of cool. But I think there's a lot of things they could do with the dungeon code that they already have, like making randomly generated runs like that would be really, really cool to see in other formats, rather than just, you know, specific rooms and then a boss. Like, dungeons that we have right now is very fun, it's very cool, but it would be cool to have like a solo version that you can do and not have to worry about getting a squad up every time. I feel like that's one of the tougher parts of dungeons, is just finding a group to run with. So being able to have a solo dungeon that's meant to be solo would be kind of nice. And finally, our foraging update idea. We only had one, which I was really surprised by. I think they should add a Slayer for foraging, and it would give foraging XP and Slayer. It would throw trees at you and would like to have to mine, and you would like to have to mine the fallen logs before a set time. Otherwise, you would take a lot of true damage. You have to have special access to damage the boss, and to summon, you gotta chop trees. I think this would work better as not a Slayer. I think this would be a cool like world event where after a certain amount of trees are chopped in a specific lobby, similar to Endstone Protector, it spawns in this Forest Protector, and you fight him, and when you kill him, he builds a bunch of, or he like shoots out a bunch of saplings that are like really expensive trees that make a lot of money to mine or to chop, and they give a bunch of foraging XP for killing the boss or for chopping the trees. I think that would be a much better world event than a whole Slayer. Like, I'm not opposed to Slayers giving, you know, foraging XP and things like that. I think if Sven's gave a little foraging XP, that would be kind of nice. But I think this idea would be a lot cooler as a group activity for the whole lobby to participate in every like 20-30 minutes, because it does sound a lot like the Endstone Protector, where you have to summon it by chopping trees and that type of thing. So I think it would be a very cool world event, but I don't know about making it a Slayer. But that is all the ideas that we got for this video. So if you guys enjoyed, once again, make sure to drop a like, smash the sub button, and if you have a good update idea, make sure to drop it in the comment section down below, and you'll have a chance to get into the next one, which I will make another one if this video gets enough likes. So smash that like button. Once again, thank you so much for watching to the end, and I'll catch you in the next one. God bless.